Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the 42nd Annual General Meeting of our company. Further to the directive of the federal and state governments on the restriction on mass gatherings due to COVID-19, we secure the approval of the Corporate Affairs Commission to hold this meeting by proxy. In addition, it's been streamed live for the benefit of our shareholders, regulators, and others who are not physically present. Based on the Corporate Affairs Commission's approval to convene this annual general meeting by way of proxies, the company's registrars received executed proxy forms sent in by shareholders. I now call on Mr. Raymond Akokota, representative of Cardinal Stone, our registrars, to present the proxy report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of Directors, regulators here present, and distinguished shareholders of Okumu Oil PLC. As registrars, we are here to present a proxy report for this meeting. We received a total of 234 duly executed proxies, amounting to 669,414,137 units of shares, and this constitutes approximately 70.18% of the issued share capital of Okumu Oil PLC. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Please note that votes will be by poll, and registrars will be counting the votes cast by the shareholders on every item on the agenda. Each shareholder has been given a voting device, and the results will be displayed online for all those attending virtually to view. I confirm that the Register of Directors' Holdings is available for inspection by members and others attending in compliance with the requirements of Section 3018 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act. The register can be inspected at the registrar's table. I will now take this opportunity to introduce you to directors, our company secretary, and other officials present today. First, let me introduce you to Mr. Peter Egwasa. Peter's sitting to my extreme left. Also to Chief David Edebiri, the Esoma of Benin, who is actually online, is not physically present today. Also, Mr. Regis Helsmoto. Regis, as you know, is CEO of the parent company. Mr. Aswe Igodalo is also online today. He's not physically in the room with us. Mr. Sven Clays is also a director of our company, but is also online joining us today. Mrs. Vivian Shobo, our new director, Dr. Isabel Chevalier. Mr. Philip Fabry, who's just joined the board. I also have Mr. Francois Fabry, who is an alternate director to Mr. Hubert Fabry. Mr. Arnaud Arnex, who is our CFO. And finally, our managing director, Mr. Graham Heffer. I'm sure most of you know our company secretary, Mr. Ebuka Omerele. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to introduce, to recognize persons who are proxies, who are attending the meeting, and also shareholders. There are Sason Nwosu, thank you. Mr. Bright in Wabogu, thank you. Chief Akisonya Adeolu, thank you. Mr. Olugbosun Ariyo, Mrs. Adebisi Bakare, thank you. Mrs. Ganiat Chinyobola, thank you. The representative of the Corporate Affairs Commission, Mrs. Lillian Dako, who's representative of NGX, and Amaka Okechukwu, who's representing Securities and Exchange Commission. Thank you very much. I also want to recognize the Audit Committee, Mr. Moses Igrude. I understand that the other audit committee members are joining online. Our registrars, Cardinal Stone, represented by Raymond Akokota, and our auditors, Ernest & Young, represented by Mrs. Maureen Ogodo and Mr. Bright Onyebolise. Before we proceed to the business of the day, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Benga Oyebode, and I'm chairman of your company. I would like to have Mr. Peter Iguasa just give us a short prayer to start the meeting. Okay.
Our Heavenly Father, the King of Glory, we bless your holy name. We thank you for bringing us here once more to hold our AGM, which you have ordained for today. May it please thee to come and chair this gathering, that at the end of our deliberation today, glory and honor will be for you. This we pray in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I will now call on the Company Secretary to read the notice convening the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Notice is hereby given that the 42nd Annual General Meeting of the members of Okumu Oil Palm Company will be held at the Harbour Point Event Center, 4 Wilmot Point Road, Victoria Island, Lagos State, on Wednesday, May 25th, 2021, at 11 o'clock a.m. to transact the following. Ordinary business. Ordinary business. Ordinary business. To lay before the members the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2021, together with the reports of the directors, independent auditors, and audit committee thereon. 2, to declare a dividend. 3, to re-elect the following directors who are retiring by rotation and being eligible have offered themselves for re-election. 3I, Mr. Benga Oyebode, MFR, as a non-executive director. 3II, Chief David Edebiri, OON, as a non-executive director. 3III, Mr. Regis Health Motel, as a non-executive director. 4, to approve the appointment of the following directors. 4I, Mr. Philip Fabry, as a non-executive director. 4II, Dr. Isabel Chivali, as an independent non-executive director. The profiles of the above directors are in the annual report and on the company's website. 5, to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of auditors. 6, to elect members of the audit committee. 7, to disclose the remuneration of managers. Special business. 8, to fix the remuneration of the directors. 9, to consider and if thought fit, pass the following as ordinary resolutions. 9A, that pursuant to Section 124 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 and Regulation 13 of the Companies Regulations 2021 as it relates to unissued shares of the company, that the company's unissued shares of 246,090,000 be and are hereby cancelled, thus bringing the company's issued share capital to be 476,955,000 naira. divided into 953,910 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each. 9B, that the directors be and are hereby authorized to enter into and execute agreements, deeds, notices, or any other document, and to perform all acts and to do all such other things necessary for or incidental to giving effect to Resolution 9A above, including without limitation appointing such professional bodies, consultants, and advisors to comply with the directives of the regulatory authorities. 10, to consider and if thought fit, pass the following resolution as a special resolution. 10A, that clause 6 of the Memorandum of Association of the company be altered to comply with Resolution 9A above, and replace the provision stating share capital with issued share capital. 11, to consider and if thought fit, pass the following resolutions as special resolutions. 11A, to increase the maximum number of directors permitted on the board of directors of the company from 12 to 15. 11B, to amend the Articles of Association of the company to reflect the increase in Resolution 11A above. Mr. Chairman, members of the company, I will plead your indulgence to only read the proxy portion contained in the notice. Thank you. To ensure the safe conduct of the 42nd Annual General Meeting, in accordance with the Health Advisory of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control on physical distancing and the restriction on mass gathering due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and in line with guidelines issued by the Corporate Affairs Commission on the conduct of the Annual General Meeting of public companies by proxy, Okumu Oil Palm Company PLC has obtained the approval of CAC to hold the AGM with attendance by proxy. Members of the company are hereby notified that attendance shall only be by proxy. A member entitled to attend and vote at the Annual General Meeting may appoint a proxy to attend and vote in his, her, or its stead. A proxy need not be a member of the company. Consequently, members are advised to select from the underlisted proxies to attend and vote in their stead at the meeting. A, Mr. Benga Oyebode, MFR. B, Mr. Aswe Igodalo. C, Dr. Graham Heffer. D, Mr. Arnold Ayenks. E, Mr. Moses Ibrude. F, Sir Sunday Nwosu. G, Mr. Bright Nwabogu. H, Chief Akinsonya Adeolu. I, Mrs. Bakari Adebisi. J, Mrs. Ganiat Shinyobola. K, Mr. Olubusun Ario. A proxy form is attached to the annual report or can be found on the company's website at www.okomunigeria.com. All executed proxy forms should be emailed to registrars@cardinalstone.com or deposited at their office, Cardinal Stone Registrars Limited, 335 to 337 Habat Macaulay Road, Yaba, Lagos, not later than 48 hours before the time of the meeting. For the appointment of a proxy to be valid for the purposes of this meeting, the company has made arrangements to bear the cost of stamp duties on the instruments of proxies. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So as you are aware, the meeting's attendance is by proxy, therefore votes on resolutions will be by poll except for item 6 on the election of audit committee members. Registrars will count the votes on the agenda items and announce the results. I now invite the registrars to explain the voting process to shareholders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once we commence the voting session is going to be by poll, and we have distributed voting devices to shareholders in this meeting. Kindly be informed that any button on the voting device powers on the voting devices. And for shareholders who are voting in favor of any resolution, you press the number 1 button, and thereafter you press the OK button to submit your vote. If you are voting against any resolution, you press the number 2 button, and thereafter press the OK button to submit your vote. Each voting session will last for approximately 30 seconds. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, Mr. Registrar, can you repeat that just to make sure that everybody is totally on the same page with you? Huh?
Okay, Mr. Chairman. So, esteemed shareholders, as we commence the voting session, like I said earlier, our voting is going to be by poll, and we have distributed the voting devices to all shareholders in this meeting. Now, kindly be informed that any button on the voting device powers on the voting device. Now, if you are voting in favor of any resolution, you press the number 1 button on the voting device, and thereafter press the OK button to submit your vote. If you are voting against the resolution, you press the number 2 button, and thereafter press the OK button to submit your vote. Each voting session will last for 30 seconds. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have 11 items on the agenda for today's meeting. I will proceed to agenda item 1, which is to lay before the meeting the financial report for the year ended 31st. Sorry, shareholders, I missed out the part of that relates to the annual report. So if I can just go back to that. My statement is on pages 11, 12, and 13 of the annual report. With your kind permission, could we please take this statement as read? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we have 11 items. I'll proceed to item 1, which is to lay before the meeting the financial report for the year ended 31st December 2021, together with the auditor's report on same. I now call on the representative of Ernst & Young, our external auditors, to read the report on pages 31 to 34 of the accounts.
Good morning, distinguished shareholders, members of board, chairman. This morning, on page 31, we have the auditor's, independent auditor's opinion. So if we are there, I will read it. Independent auditors report to the members of the Okumu Oil Palm PLC, Company PLC. Report on the financial statements. Opinion. We have audited the financial statements of the Okumu Oil Palm Company PLC, the company, which comprise the statement of financial position as at 31 December 2021, the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, the statement of changes in equity, the statement of cash flows for the year then ended, and notes to the financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the Okumu Oil Palm Company PLC as at 31 December 2021, and its financial performance and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, the provisions of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, and in compliance with the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act No. 6, 2011. Basis for our opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with the International Standard on Auditing, ISAs. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibility for the audit of the financial statement section of our report. We are independent of the company in accordance with the International Code of Ethics for professional accountants, including International Independent Standard, IASBA Code, together with the ethical requirements that are relevant to our audit of the financial statements in Nigeria, and we have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with these requirements and the IASBA Code. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. If you permit me, shareholders, can I go to the key audit matters? Thank you. Key audit matter. One, the timing of revenue recognition. The company revenue comprised majorly of sale of palm oil products and rubber. There's a risk of improper revenue recognition, especially with regards to cutoff at year-end dates, or that revenue may be misstated. As at 31 December 2021, the company's revenue increased from 23.411 billion in the prior year to 37.394 billion, representing about 60% increase year on year. We have considered this a key audit matter as the increase in revenue is significant. How the matter was addressed in our audit. We performed walkthroughs to understand the adequacy and the design of the revenue recognition process. We checked the revenue recognition policies applied by the company to ensure its compliance with IFRS requirements. We perform analytical review procedures to understand the revenue trend over the year under review. We tested a couple of invoices, validating and vouching the invoices booked to the underlying sales order and acknowledged delivery note. We perform cut-off testing procedures by selecting a sample of transactions during peak period sales to ensure revenue had been recognized in the appropriate accounting period. We trace payments from the customers to the bank statements to ascertain that actual sales were recorded. We validated the appropriateness and the completeness of the related disclosure in the notes to the financial statements. The second key audit matter, valuation of biological assets. The company uses a fair value method to determine the valuation of biological assets. The valuation of the biological assets involves complex and subjective judgments about the expected palm oil yield, crude palm oil, and palm kernel price. As of 31 December 2021, biological assets were valued at 289.22 million as against 2020 162 million naira. The expected palm oil yield, long-term crude palm oil prices has been identified as a source of estimation uncertainty. The significant accounting policy and critical judgments relating to the valuation are outlined in Note 4.18. The fair value disclosures of biological assets are outlined in Note 7.3 of the financial statements. How the matter was addressed in our audit. We reviewed the model used by management to ensure it was in accordance with the requirements of IAS 41 agriculture. We tested management's ability to forecast by comparing the palm oil yield used in the prior year valuation to the actual yields in the current year. We checked that the model used was consistent with prior year. We tested the underlying assumptions applied, determining the crude palm oil and kernel oil price. We tested the mathematical accuracy of the model and inspected the data inputs in the model relating to plantation size, number of trees, and actual yield. We checked the presentation and disclosure of management's valuation in the financial statement to assess their reasonableness. If you permit me, shareholders, can I go to the last page that talks to the other legal matters? Can I go ahead?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Report on, it's on page 34, report on other legal and regulatory requirements. In accordance with the requirements of the 5th Schedule of Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, we confirm that 1, we have obtained all the information and explanation which to the best of our knowledge and belief were necessary for the purpose of our audit. 2, in our opinion, proper books of accounts have been kept by the company insofar as appears from our examination of those books. 3, the company's statement of financial position and statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of accounts. Signed, Maureen Ogodo for Ernst & Young, Chartered Accountant, Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Ogodo. In accordance with the provisions of Section 404, subsection 7 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, the Audit Committee duly carried out their duties as required on the accounts for the period ended 31st December 2021. I now ask the Chairman of the Audit Committee, Mr. Moses Igbude, to read the Audit Committee report, which is on page 28 of the annual report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, Board of Directors, the report of the Audit Committee is on page 28 of the annual report. I read those. In compliance with the provision of section 404, subsection 7 of the Company and Allied Matter Act 2020, we, the member of the Audit Committee of the Okumu Oil Palm Company PLC, having carried out our function under the Act, confirm that the accounting and reporting policy of the company as contained in the financial statement for the year ended 31st December 2021 are in accordance with legal requirements and agree ethical practices. We confirm that the external auditor, Mrs. S. and Young, have issued an unqualified opinion on the company's financial statement for the year ended 31st December 2021. In our opinion, the scope and planning of the audit for the year ended 31st 2021 were adequate, and we confirm that the responses by the management to the external auditor findings on management matters were satisfactory. It was signed by me, the chairman, Mr. Moses Igbude. Members of the audit committee are Reverend L.E. Onhen JP, is a member. Reverend A. Imado JP, is a member. Mrs. V. Shobo, a member. And Mr. Hesmote, a member. The company secretary acted as the secretary to the committee. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Igbude. I now lay the financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2021 before you. Some of you may have comments and questions on the annual report and accounts. If so, please use the roving microphone provided after handing your admission card to one of the stewards for notification. We require that you speak clearly into the microphone and commence by announcing your name before putting your questions or your comments. I'll take Sonenwosu first, and then we'll...
Mr. Chairman of the Board of Okumu Oil Nigeria PLC, distinguished directors, and distinguished fellow shareholders, my name is Sir Sonenwosu. I just have few comments. Can somebody take this away? Otherwise, I'll take it away. I'm very happy being here this
Happy
morning.
to see you also.
And I recall the language of the MD who said he's very happy seeing me with my 2 feet on ground and the chairman. It is just the prayers of corporate Nigeria and my fellow shareholders that made me to stand before you. I want to say very clearly, I have looked at the new members of the board. I saw my dear Vivian there, who is a capable person. And the MD was telling me of a member of the Swiss Assembly or something like that, Dr. something, who is also there. So I want to appreciate the board for the quality of people they are bringing to the board. It gives us hope that there is future in Okumu Oil. And that's exactly one of the virtues that people look at before investing in a company. I've seen the MD, and when you look at a page in this annual report, due to disclosure, which told us that the chairman had been on his seat for 30 years, it tells me very clearly that he cannot misplace the priority of the board. Cannot have a better person with 30 years experience as the chairman. Since I'm also very proud of myself of being 50 years in the capital market, so I know what it means to have such experience. And again, being a shareholder-friendly chairman, definitely he will not miss his ways in piloting Okumu to a position of joy to the shareholders. So on that note, I'd like to welcome the doctor, and I also would like to welcome Mrs. Shobo, who, of course, I've known her when we are doing programs. We invite her to come and deliver papers because of the quality of person she is. So you are welcome to the board, and you're also welcome. And I saw some young men too, who are not as old as the MD, who have joined the board. So I'd like to welcome them. Something happened this morning. It may amuse you. When JP Agosa was asked to pray, he was struggling with the phone. You know, money and prayer don't move the same way. And the mic was given to the finance director. He too was struggling, and the mic refused to answer him because he's a money man. And therefore, so but eventually, the JP, who is a godly man, got it, the mic answered. So we thank God for your prayers. And however, having said that, I want to say again that I want to ask one question. There's something missing here, although it's on page 22. But we should have created a page for it to make it very elaborate for people to understand the committee membership and their work, than putting it together here, you know. For the future, please create a space where it will be very clear to anybody that picks the annual report, we see that this is the committee membership and the way they worked. It's very important. The other thing is on our loans. I discovered that we took advantage of central bank window to take some loans. I hope we have used those loans for the specific things we asked for. It's very important. Now, it's also very important that recently the newspapers brought out a report about the supply chain on red oil, there's a great shortage all over the world. And I was laughing that with Graham there, he must make sure he supplies so that the world can have enough red oil to do whatever they want. So I want us to look at that opportunity and increase our production line so that next time when we are paying dividend, there's nothing wrong if we pay 16 naira, 20 naira dividend. There's nothing wrong. But then, we as shareholders, which I stand to represent, appreciate the 8 naira that you are giving to us as dividend, plus a bonus of 1 for 1. It is because you have stayed long in Nigeria and the country, you know what Nigerian shareholders want. Otherwise, most of the technical partners are afraid of bonuses. But we enjoy it because we trade our shares and use it to increase the value of the company, while they glaze their own certificates and keep in their head office. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for that discretion that you have used. So we want an increased dividend next time, which means that we'll be paying on the bonus to bring happiness to the investors.
Thank you.
I'm happy that our biological asset is increasing. It almost doubled, which is good. I remember when we were having problems, we were afraid of all these things. So, the cheerfulness of your operation extends to all the directors. If you look at the pages of which has pictorial, the chairman, the MD, the global chairman, you are all wearing cheerful faces because a lot of money is going over there to support your investment. Mr. Chairman, as you know, it's not a time for me to talk too much. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to represent thousands of shareholders of this company as a Proxy. I pray that next time we are meeting here, we'll have more joyous stories to tell about this company. And those of you that have come from a long distance to be at this AGM, you have seen what Nigerian shareholders look forward to, especially the new directors. Want to see the value that you are bringing up to ensure that next time we are meeting, we are discussing a bigger dividend and a bigger company. I want to also inform the MD that looking at the pictorials in page 82, 83, and 84 to 85, I have scanned through it to see whether I can see activities of shareholders there. There's nothing like shareholders. Please, let us also show that interest on shareholders to put some of the pictures of our AGM into these pictorials. It will be nice for any of the shareholders here, seeing him or herself in a pictorial in the annual report. So please, our management should look into that again. On that note, MD, please extend our appreciation to the workers that baked this cake that we are going to eat today, because the registrars are here. I'm sure as soon as it's approved, the cake will be extended to all the shareholders to eat and feel very happy that we are shareholders of Okumu. And God will continue to protect all of them, including the management, including you. God will continue to protect you while riding your bicycle. So, on that note, on behalf of shareholders, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Thank you very much, and God bless all of us.
Thank you. Thank you. Mrs. Bakari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of Directors, regulatory authorities here present this morning, my co-shareholders. Good morning. My name is Mrs. B.C. Bakari, a shareholder. First and foremost, Mr. Chairman, before I start my comments, I want to appreciate this board for the opportunity given to me to be part of today's meeting. I really appreciate the board for that. I say thank you. Having said that, on the business of today, I want to appeal to this board or those that prepared the annual report that going forward, we should make sure that our soft copy annual report and the and the hard copy, they are the same pages. Because I used the soft copy. When I received the hard copy, I've been trying to match the pages. They are not the same thing at all. Please, we should take note of that. I'll go straight to page 10 and 82 of the annual report and accounts, where we have results at a glance and our 5 years financial summary. Okumu Oil 5 years financial summary, for me, is highly commendable. As we can see on this page I mentioned earlier, we can see that for the past 5 years, this year's revenue is the highest so far for the past 5 years. This is highly commendable. Secondly, our profit before taxation also doubled from 8.695 billion to 16.115 billion. Again, profit for the year moved from 2.942 billion to 11.539 billion. Growth of about 8 billion, 8 billion plus. It grew by 292%. Our total comprehensive income also grew by 489%. On this note, I want to commend the entire board, management, and staff of Okumu Oil PLC for a wonderful result. And I want my colleagues to appreciate the board for this also. Page 13. Okay, some also have talked about the dividend. We appreciate the dividend and the bonus, Mr. Chairman. And as Oliver Twist, we hope that coming next year, we want our dividend nothing less than 10 naira. I want the board to look at it. Page 36, where we have trade and other receivables. I think this is highly commendable, seeing our trade and other receivables from 6.718 billion to reduce to 789.6 million. I don't know the magic the management has performed. This is very good, and I want them to keep it up. On page 68, note 15, where we have other expenses. Mr. Chairman, I'm worried with our professional fees. Our professional fees moved from 147.9 million to 243.57 million. The same thing on our management fees. Our management fees moved from 1.19 billion to 1.765 billion. I want the management to look at this and the board. Still on the same page, auditors' professional fees for non-audit services, 20 million. This is amazing, Mr. Chairman. I don't know, Mr. Chairman, I think I need a clarification on this. Why the huge payment of 20 million for auditors for non-audit services when their remuneration for the year is 28 million? By the time you add the two together, 20 million and 28 million, that will give us 48 million. So I think I need an explanation on this. Why would they charge for just non-audit services 20 million? So I want the board, especially the audit committee, I want them to look at this going forward. Page 66, note 9, revenue from contracts with customers. Of course, for palm oil produce and rubber sales, we perform extremely well. This is very good. But my concern is on our palm oil possession. There was a reduction from previous year, 2020. Our revenue from palm oil possession reduced from 72.968 million to 64.130 million. I want to ask that, is there any challenges we are facing in respect of this? Page 26, gender diversity. Going forward, Mr. Chairman, I think we should include comparative numbers of male employees, because what we can see here is only the figure for women. Management 1, order 371. So I think going forward, we should let us know the number for the male so that we'll be able to compare the two numbers. Still on the same page, we have complaint management policy in place. This is very good, Mr. Chairman. But looking at this, Mr. Chairman, this is not detailed. I think going forward, we should include the number of complaints we received during the year and how many were resolved and how many were unresolved. We should take note of that. page 56 and 75. Okay, sorry, some also have talked about, that is about the loans. Furthermore, I will leave that one. So furthermore, on insecurity, from various news, Mr. Chairman, we read about our company is being attacked by terrorists. Even with this, we are able to perform well. This is something we have to thank God for and appreciate management for it. But Mr. Chairman, what are we doing to address this issue of insecurity in order to find a final solution to this major challenge in our company? Lastly, I won't drop the microphone without talking about our registrar. I think I want to specially appreciate our registrar for a wonderful work they are doing. I received the soft copy annual report almost 2 months. That is why I'm able to go through the annual report very well. Once again, thank you for the opportunity given to me. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, other board members here present, and those participating virtually, the regulatory authorities here present, and those participating virtually. Can I hold this? I'm trying to let it close. Thank you. My fellow distinguished shareholders here present and those participating virtually, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Barrister Adetutu Shiyombola. I am the president of Highly Favored Shareholders Association. Mr. Chairman, I have some observations, comments, questions, and suggestions on Okumu Oil Palms 2021 annual report. With your kind permission, I will quickly run through them. From page 4 to 8, director's profile. I observe that we have only 2 ladies as directors out of 14, which amounts to 14%. This is unacceptable on gender balancing. We have to improve on it going forward. On page 10, results at a glance, it has been dealt with by the previous speaker. I just want to make a conclusion that I observe that we have an excellent performance in the year under review because all the indices are in progression. I want to seize this opportunity to shower encomium on the board and the management for a job well done. Please keep it up. On page 15 and 16, that talks about the bonus, history of the share capital. I want to skip that one too, because it has been dealt with by the previous speaker. On page 16, director's interest. I observe that only 3 directors out of 14 directors listed have our shares attached to their names directly or indirectly. Why? I want to know the reason why. It's only 3 people, only 3 directors. On page 18, corporate social responsibility, I observe that our CSR in the year under review, 36, statements of financial position, trade and other receivables, though the previous speaker has spoken on that, but I just have a question, though it's commendable, but what are the modalities in place to recover the shortfall between the trade and other receivables and prepayments? How do we recover this from our customers? What are the modalities in place to recover them? I just want to know that. so that at the end of the day, it won't turn to a bad debt that will be written off. Then trade and other payables under current liabilities also reduced by also reduced from 4.9 billion naira to 4.8 billion naira in the year under review. This is also commendable as well. But how do we intend to pay the balance to the creditors? I want to know. On page 68, that talks about other expenses. I have some other points that I need enlightenment on. The first one there is printing and office supply. It went up from 31.1 million naira to 52.2 million naira in the year under review. Why? When other companies are going paperless. Number two, on that note, local travel and accommodation went up from 67.2 million naira to 115.4 million naira in the year under review. This is huge. Why? Then, other external charges. I believe that's the last thing on that page, on that column. It went up astronomically from 2.6 billion naira to 5.3 billion naira in the year under review. This is massive. It's more than double. Why? Lastly, I observe that we have used our annual reports judiciously in advertising our products. This is commendable. Please keep it up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity given to me. May God bless you.
Mr. Chairman, other erudite scholars on the board of Okumu Oil PLC, highly favored shareholders, God bless you. I am Honorable Bright Nwabuogo, the National President of Aba Shareholders Association of Nigeria. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be brief. Going through this annual report, previous speakers have done very well in analyzing. I want to ask a question. In the issue of whistleblowing policy of the company, what are the what I want to ask in whistleblowing policies, the process, procedures to checkmate the identity and prepare them so that they will not be attacked. The policy is responsible. Secondly, to protect the identity of the whistleblower. That is what I want to ask her. What are the measures put in place to protect the identity of the whistleblower so that they will not be attacked? God bless you, sir.
We'll take one last question. Whistleblowers.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Olugbus Mario. I want to say good morning to you, sir, and to every member of this board, and by extension to other stakeholders here. Well, what can we say? I mean, than to commend the result. The result that we are analyzing today has shown that Okumu really knows his money under our chairmanship. I've been an ardent follower of you, sir, when you were the former chairman of Access Bank, and I must say, I mean, the result you are celebrating is fantastic. But I just want to bring the attention of the board to that page 10, where we have this financial summary. Now, a lot of people outside there are not even celebrating our results. They are celebrating the share price. I think in this annual report, that share price should have been clearly stated here. There are people who know the journey. I mean, during the course of the year, I mean, that will go a long way. Our share price should have been staying under that financial highlight. Now we know where the story is coming for that. It's not only the revenue that we are celebrating, it's what we are celebrating, we are also celebrating the share price. I think that should be noted. Then on page 7, I just want clarification, Mr. Aswe Budalo. Is he an independent director or a non-executive director? Because that page tagged him to be an independent director, and every other pages show otherwise. That's page 9 and 27 show him to be a non-executive director. So I just want that clarification, whether it's an independent director or a non-executive director. Then I also want to come on page 68, where you have a significant drop in power and electricity. That price moved down from 235 million to 197 million. I think that is commendable. And from the chairman's statement on page 12, you may mention something about this 5 megawatt turbine that is being built at Okumu. That is actually working similar. I think that was Madam contributed to the power reduction that we are seeing today. I want to commend the board and management over this initiative on this turbine. Then I also want to comment on gender diversity. I'm surprised that page 26, where you said the number of women that were employed that are under the employment of Okumu is 372 out of the 426 that we have are displayed on page. That's in page 10. That's like 87% of your workforce are women. I think that is commendable. Though somebody mentioned that it's not conventional, the same thing is not happening on the board, but I think we need to commend this gender diversity. That is commendable. Then I think I also want to mention something about, there was this notice, I think Mr. Piake mentioned it, about this community in Okumu. Some people, disturbing us at Okumu. I think there was this report that was sent to NGS portal. I don't know whether we can be brief to know the current situation now. So I think on that note, I would say thank you for giving me the opportunity, and thank you for making me to be part of this, the number of persons that are here that attend this meeting. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, shareholders. I will just quickly like to respond to some of the issues that have been raised. First, to celebrate and thank God for Sir Sonuwosu's life. I think the fact that he's here with us, not just in person, but hale and hearty, is worthy of thanks. And so we thank God, Sir Sonuwosu. Congratulations, and we're very happy to see you. Thank you. You had raised the questions about the clarity in committee memberships. We've taken note of that. We will make sure that we are able to do the chart in such a way that you can follow it clearly. Also, with respect to the central bank intervention loans, yes, we participated in them, and as you can see from the annual report and some of our achievements, the funds were directed and used for the purpose for which they were received. I can assure you about that. And also, thank you very much for your comments with respect to the quality of our board. As you know, the board has remained steadfast in developing the company and making sure that we stay close to the business for which we were set up. Mrs. Bisi Bakare, I apologize that the virtual copy and the hard copy, the pagination was not the same. That shouldn't be, just so that whoever is at home can also be following us. We will make sure that that doesn't happen going forward. Also, you had made comments about the 5-year summary. I'm sure you know that year on year, your company continues to reinvest both in the assets, but also with respect to our milling capacity, so that we can continue to do what we were set up for. I think you had also made a reference to, well, let me put it this way, the two women that spoke made reference to gender diversity. So I think that's, I'm happy that the last gentleman that responded also gave us kudos for we may not have perfect gender diversity on our board, but we definitely have it on our workforce. And I'm sure you are happy about that. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we'll continue to do better. I think the issue was also raised about insecurity on the planet. Look, this is a matter that concerns all of us. I'm sure you note, you will see in news items that have been, recently Graham has reported attacks on the plantation, attacks on our staff. We try to convince people that our oil is palm oil, it's not crude oil. But I think there's a bit of confusion because we are also in the Niger Delta. But you can be rest assured that your company, the management, continues to protect the staff and the company. The insecurity has become an issue across the board. So I don't think any one of us is insulated, isolated from it. But we continue to do what we can to deal with these situations. Mrs. Shinobola, I think first let me say that there are no shareholding requirements for directors, especially the only if there's a shareholding requirement is that independent directors cannot have shares. So please let's, and you will note that the shareholders who are representing the parent company, again, because the employees have no shareholding requirement to hold shares of the company. I think you had used the, I think you made the point about cost increases. I think across the board, all of us will note that inflation is running a bit crazy. The figures we see, sometimes we ask ourselves whether food inflation far outstrips the inflation that's being reflected. I'm sure if Graham had to do the 2022 numbers and you see what diesel has done to the business, you will see further increases. So we are a responsible company. We continue to keep costs down, but we also live in a bit of a hyperinflationary society where fuel prices are not what you see at the pump, and diesel prices are far outstripped what they were last year. So again, all I will try and assure you is that we continue to do the best that we can to keep costs down. I think Brighton Wobogu talked about procedures for protecting staff. Again, it comes back to the insecurity issue. We do have a detachment of the police and of the military on the plantation, in addition to our own security detachment that's there. But because of the isolated nature of the plantation, because it's also in riverine areas, we are subject to attacks by people that come on fast boats. But let me assure you that the company is doing all it can to make sure that we continue to produce. I think the question was asked about maybe we should put a share price indicator. The reality is we take a snapshot at a particular time when we're printing these things, but I'm sure that our shareholders check their share price every morning and can see that Okumu's share price remains very, very strong. And again, that's due to your support, but also to the hard work that management is doing. Again, you are right, we will correct it. Mr. Aswe Godalo used to be an independent director. He is no longer an independent. He is now sitting on the board in his own capacity. We have two new independent directors, Mrs. Vivian Shobo and Dr. Chevalier. So again, we've met the minimum requirements of the law. So I think that those are my quick responses to some of the questions that were raised. Your board and management will be here after the meeting. So if there are any other issues that we can address, we will try and address them. So again, just thank you very, very much for your support, for your interest, for your presence here today. I'd like to go to the next item, which is the first Agenda item 2, which is the first resolution that we will take. It's on the declaration of dividend. The board has recommended a dividend payment of 8 naira for every 50 copper share, subject to withholding tax declared in respect of the year ended December 31st and made payable by the 25th of May 2022. Accordingly, I propose that a dividend of 8 naira per share amounting to 7,631,280,000 naira is hereby declared in respect of the year ended 31st December 2021, payable on Wednesday 25th May 2022, after deduction of withholding tax at the appropriate rate to those shareholders registered in the books of the company at the close of business on Friday 22nd April. Can I have a shareholder who will please rise and second this motion? Mrs. Bakare.
My name is Mrs. Bakare Adebisi. I hereby second the motion.
We will now put the motion to vote. Can the registrars please conduct the exercise?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the resolution to declare a dividend, voting starts now, please. The voting session has ended.
Okay.
May I have a permission to display the vote, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please go ahead.
On the resolution to declare a dividend, we have 100% votes in person and by way of proxy in favor of this resolution, amounting to 702,311,968 units of shares. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, can you repeat those numbers because we didn't? Okay.
On the resolution to declare a dividend, we have 100% votes in person and by way of proxy in favor of this resolution, amounting to 702,311,968 units of Okumu PLC shares.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to declare a dividend in respect of the period ended December 31st, 2021 has been passed unanimously. Agenda item 3 is to re-elect directors. As I am one of the directors to be re-elected, I will hand over to Dr. Graham Heffer, to take this part of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, in accordance with our Articles of Association, 1/3 of the non-executive directors shall retire at this annual general meeting and being eligible have offered themselves for election. The directors are Mr. Benga Oyebode and Mr. Regis Halsmutel and Chief David Edeberry. In compliance with Section 278 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, on the disclosure of the age of directors who are 70 or more years at the AGM, the company has received a special notice on behalf of Chief David Edeberry regarding his age. To speed up the meeting process, I move that a single resolution be adopted to reappoint directors offering themselves for re-election. Is there any objection to this motion? I then, in the absence of any objection, hereby move that in accordance with the Articles of Association of our company, that Messrs. Benga Oyebode, Regis Halsmutel, and Chief David Edeberry, having retired as directors and been eligible and now offering themselves for re-election, be re-elected as directors of the company. Can a shareholder now please rise and second this motion?
I am Honorable Bright Mabog. I so do.
Thank you very much, sir. We are now put the Thank you very much, sir. I would like to then go back and we'll take it one at a time. Can I please then, in terms of Mr. Benga Uyebodi, ask a shareholder to please rise and second the motion. Thank you. In the case of Mr. Regis Halsmortel, please may I have a shareholder to rise and second that motion?
No, they want you to take each one first.
Oh, sorry.
You vote on one, then.
Oh, okay, sorry. My apologies. All right, then, could we then please vote on Mr. Benga Oyebodi?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the resolution to re-elect Mr. Benga Oyebode as director, voting starts now.
One and okay.
The voting session has ended. May I have your permission, Mr. Chairman?
Please.
On the resolution to re-elect Mr. Benga Oyebode as director, we have a 99.01% voting person and by way of proxy in favor of this resolution, amounting to 695,367,316 units of shares. We also have a 0.99% voting person and by way of proxy voting against this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, I'll hand back to you then. Mr. Carry on. Okay, good. We'll now vote on Mr. Regis Halsmortel, please.
On the resolution to re-elect Chief David Edebiri as director, voting starts now. The voting session has ended. With your permission, Mr. Chairman. On the resolution to re-elect Chief David Edebiri as director, we have a 99.01% voting person and by way of proxy in favor of this resolution, amounting to 695,367,316 units of shares. We also have a 0.99% votes in person and by way of proxy voting against this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Then if we can now just vote on the re-election of Mr. Regis Halsmortel, please.
No.
On the resolution to re-elect Mr. Regis Halsmortel as director, voting starts now.
It's one of the trust companies. It's one of the trust companies, the nominee companies. It's Standard Bank of South Africa. For some reason, they always vote against the votes. You think so?
I don't know.
They're just being mischievous.
The voting session has ended. With your permission, Mr. Chairman. On the resolution to re-elect Mr. Regis Halsmortel as director, we have a 99.01% voting person and by way of proxy in favor of this resolution, amounting to 695,367,316 units of shares. We also have a 0.99% votes against this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, everything is passed unanimously. Yeah. Thank you very much. I therefore declare the resolutions carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. First to Graham for handling this part of the agenda, but also to our shareholders for the confidence, the faith in our ability to continue to serve you. So thank you very, very much for the vote of confidence. The fourth item on the agenda is to approve appointment of new directors. There are two new directors that are being proposed for appointment, and I'll take them one after the other. I hereby propose that Mr. Philip Fabry, whose profile is contained in the annual report, be and is hereby ratified as a non-executive director of our company. Will somebody please rise to second this motion? Thank you. Mr. Thank you very much. So, Registrar?
On the resolution to approve the appointment of Mr. Philip Fabry as director, voting starts now.
Is it done?
The voting session has ended, Mr. Chairman. Yes. On the resolution to approve the appointment of Mr. Philip Fabry as director, we have a 99.01% vote in person and by way of proxy in favor of this resolution, amounting to 695,366,676 units of shares. We also have a 0.99% vote against this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, please just stand up to be recognized. Thank you. So we declare that that resolution is carried. I also propose that Dr. Mrs. Isabel Chevalier, whose profile is also contained in the annual report, be and is hereby ratified as an independent non-executive director of our company. Again, are you ready for the vote?
On resolution to approve the appointment of Dr. Isabel Chevalier as director, voting starts now. The voting session is ended, Mr. Chairman. On the resolution to approve the appointment of Dr. Isabel Chevalier as director, we have a 100% vote in person and by way of proxy in favor of this resolution, amounting to 702,312,068 units of shares. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think that's a very gender-sensitive vote. So I declare that that vote is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. I think that's our shareholders sending us a signal. I will now move on to the fifth item on the agenda. In accordance with Section 401 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Messrs. Ernst & Young, having indicated their willingness to continue in office as external auditors of the company without any resolution. However, it is necessary that their remuneration be fixed by the company in general meetings or such manner as the company in general meetings may determine. Accordingly, I hereby propose that the directors be authorized to fix the remuneration of Messrs. Ernst & Young, who have indicated their willingness to continue in office as auditors of the company. Can I have a member please second this resolution? Thank you.
On the resolution to authorize directors to fix the auditor's remuneration, voting starts now. The voting session is ended. On the resolution to authorize directors to fix the auditor's remunerations, we have 100% votes in person and by way of proxy in favor of this resolution, amounting to 702,312,068 units of shares. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda, item 6, is the election of members of the Audit Committee. Section 404 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act provides that a maximum of 5 members of the Audit Committee, consisting of 2 directors and 3 representatives of the shareholders, be elected at an annual general meeting. The Act further provides that in the case of election of shareholder representatives, nominations should be received no later than 21 days before the date of the meeting. The Company Secretary reported that pursuant to Section 4043, valid nominations for the election have been received for 3 shareholders within the allotted time of 21 days before. Since we have only 3 valid nominations in the persons of Mr. Moses Ibrude, Reverend Leonard Onhehe, and Reverend Andrew Imadu, there will be no need for an election. The Board of Directors nominees to ensure compliance with the provisions of 404 Section 3 of CAMA are Mrs. Vivian Shobo and Mr. Regis Helsmotel. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure to announce that the following persons, Mr. Moses Ibrude, Reverend Leonard Onhehe, Reverend Andrew Imadu, Mrs. Vivian Shobo, and Mr. Regis Helsmotel, are hereby elected as members of the Audit Committee until the conclusion of the next annual general meeting. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda, agenda item 7, is to disclose remuneration of managers. Distinguished shareholders, page 17 of the annual report and accounts contains remuneration of managers of the company in compliance with Section 238 and 257 of CAMA. Item 8 is the special business of approval of remuneration of directors. Article 95 of the company's Articles of Association, the directors shall be entitled to such remuneration as from time to time determined by the company in general meeting. I hereby propose that directors' emoluments in respect of fees amounting to 109,971,000 for the year ended 31st December 2021 be and is hereby approved. Could I have a member please rise to second this motion? Thank you. I now put the motion to vote.
On the resolution to fix remuneration of directors, voting starts now. Voting session has ended. With your permission, Mr. Chairman. On the resolution to fix remuneration of directors, we have 100% vote in person and by way of proxy in favor of this resolution, amounting to 678,596,155 units of shares. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Following the results of the voting, as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare the resolution to approve the emoluments for directors for the year ended December 31, 2021 has been passed unanimously. The 9th item on the agenda is a special business. Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. The 9th item is the special business to cancel unissued shares. I hereby move that pursuant to Section 124 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act and Regulation 13 of the Companies Regulations 2021, as it relates to unissued shares of the company, that the company's unissued shares of 246,090,000 shares be and are hereby cancelled, thus bringing the company's issued share capital to 476,955,000 share divided into 953,910,000 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each. Can I have a member please rise to second this motion? Mrs. Bakari, thank you very much. Registrars?
On resolution to pass the ordinary resolution cancelling 246,090,000 unissued shares, which comprise the total shares of unissued shares in the authorized share capital of the company. Voting starts now. The voting session is ended, Mr. Chairman. On the resolution to pass the ordinary resolution cancelling 246,090,000 units of unissued shares, which comprise the total number of unissued shares in the authorized share capital of the company, we have 100% vote in person and by way of proxy in favor of this resolution, amounting to 678,596,059 units of shares. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I declare that this resolution is carried unanimously. Agenda 9B, following the cancellation of the unissued shares, I hereby move that directors be and are hereby authorized to take such steps and to do such things as may become necessary to give effect to the resolution, cancelling the unissued shares. If I could have a shareholder, please second. Thank you very much. Registrars?
On the decision to pass the ordinary resolution authorizing the directors to take such steps as may become necessary to give effect to the resolution cancelling the unissued shares, voting starts now. The voting session is ended. On the decision to pass the ordinary resolution authorizing the directors to take such steps as may become necessary to give effect to the resolution cancelling the unissued shares, we have 100% votes in person and by way of proxy in favor of this resolution, amounting to 702,312,068 units of shares. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I declare that that resolution is carried unanimously. The 10th item is a special business to amend Clause 6 of the Memorandum of Association of the company. I hereby propose that Clause 6 of the Memorandum of Association of the company be altered to reflect as follows. Issued share capital of the company is 476,955,000 divided into 953,910,000 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each. Can I have a member please rise to second this motion? Mrs. Shinyobola, thank you. Registrar?
On resolution to pass special resolution modifying Clause 6 of the Memorandum of Association of the company to state the issued share capital of the company is 476,959,000 divided into 953,910,000 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each. Voting starts now. The voting session has ended. On decision to pass the special resolution modifying Clause 6 of the Memorandum of Association of the company to state the issued share capital of the company is 476,955,000 naira divided into 953,910,000 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each. We have 100% votes in person and by way of proxy in favor of this resolution, amounting to 678,595,655 units of shares. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I declare that that resolution is carried unanimously. The next item is a special business to increase the number of directors permitted on the board. I hereby propose that the maximum number of directors permitted on the board of directors of your company be and is hereby increased from 12 to 15. Can I have a member please second? Mr. Akishan, thank you very much. I now call on the registrars.
On resolution to pass a special resolution increasing the maximum number of directors permitted on the board of directors by the articles of association from 12 to 15, voting starts now. The voting session has entered. With your permission, Mr. Chairman. On the resolution to pass a special resolution increasing the maximum number of directors permitted on the board of directors by the articles of association from 12 to 15, we have 100% votes in person and by way of proxy in favor of this resolution, amounting to 678,596,155 units of shares. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I declare that that resolution is carried unanimously. I hereby propose that Article 992 of the Articles of Association be and is hereby amended to reflect the increase in the number of directors permitted on the board of directors. Can I have a member please second this motion? Thank you very much, Honorable Wabugu. Thank you. Registrars.
On the resolution to pass a special resolution amending the articles of association of the company to reflect the maximum number of directors permitted on the board as 15, voting starts now. The voting session has ended. With your permission, Mr. Chair. On the resolution to pass a special resolution amending the articles of association of the company to reflect the maximum number of directors permitted on the board as 15, we have 100% vote in person and by way of proxy in favor of this resolution, amounting to 702,312,068 units of shares. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I declare that that resolution is carried unanimously. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the close of business for today. Before I do that, I really wanted to just indicate that two of our directors, Dr. Luke Booth, who has been on the board for 26 years, and Mr. Philippe Detro, who had been on the board for 24 years, have retired from the company and also resigned from our board. As is usual, your board has sent them letters thanking them for their service over the years, their support of the company mostly through the period where the company went public in the early 90s. They were totally in support of the growth of the company, and I'm sure most of you know Dr. Booth was CEO of the parent company. So again, I will pass on your gratitude and thanks to them, but the board has written them a letter to thank them for their service. I thought it was important that I brought that to your notice. Again, really just to thank everybody for your support. We look forward to a peaceful political transition over the next 1 year. We look forward to reduced insecurity in the country, not just on our plantation, but across the board. Again, just to thank our stakeholders, regulators, for being here today, for the continued support of your company. It's my last business of the day is to really declare the 42nd Annual General Meeting closed. We will take the national anthem, and there will be some slight refreshments. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, guys. Let me just write the number for you.